This is Catherine Zeta-Jones, and I'm so excited to be here today to share my life in looks with you.
Catherine Zeta-Jones embodies classic beauty, all-around talent, and rare success. A star who once stepped onto the Oscar stage while pregnant, commanding Hollywood to pause and listen. But behind the dazzling gowns, the proud gaze, and the radiant roles lies a life soaked in tears, marked by depression, bipolar disorder, media scandals, illness, and near breakdowns that almost shattered her family. She was once a little girl who nearly died from breathing problems, a teenager who dropped out of school to chase the stage lights, and a rising star rejected by Hollywood before being discovered by Spielberg. And just when it seemed life had gifted Catherine everything, love, children, fame, tragedy quietly crept into every corner. From postpartum emotional crashes to her husband's cancer battle, from Michael Douglas's sexual scandal to the scrutinizing eyes that followed her into the hospital after a nervous collapse. Audiences admired her in Chicago, applauded her strength on the Oscar stage, but few knew that even in that brilliant moment, she was holding herself together with everything she had. Catherine Zeta-Jones was never the picture of perfection. She is the proof of what it means to be worn down by the very glory one chases. A woman who loved with all her heart, hurt to the core, and still chose to rise, not because she was unscathed, but because she had long learned to hide the pain beneath the spotlight. And perhaps it's those cracks that make Catherine shine in such a strange, arresting way, like a jewel not polished to perfection, but with each scar telling a story one cannot forget. If you've ever loved her since the Mask of Zorro, ever admired the way she danced and sang like a diva in Chicago, leave a comment saying, "Yes, love, Catherine Zeta-Jones," because maybe you too are wondering what really happened to her. Early life. Catherine Zeta-Jones was born on September 25, 1969, in Swansea, a coastal town in Wales. Her family came from working-class roots. Her father was a baker and her mother a seamstress. They weren't wealthy, but they always did their best to provide their children with a decent life. From an early age, Catherine faced a major challenge. She contracted a dangerous virus that made it hard for her to breathe. Doctors were forced to perform a tracheotomy to save her life. The small scar on her neck from that very surgery has followed her ever since, a quiet reminder that she has always had to fight just to survive. Life began to shift for her family when her parents won a £100,000 lottery ticket. With the winnings, they bought their own pastry shop, moved to a better neighborhood, and, most importantly, were able to support Catherine's growing passion for the arts. Even as a child, she showed a natural flair for performance. At just 4 years old, Catherine joined her local church performance group, singing and dancing on stage. By age 11, she landed the lead role in the musical Annie. At 13, she was already performing in Bugsy Malone on the West End, a rare feat for someone so young. A defining moment came when she was 14. Catherine auditioned for a nationwide touring musical produced by Mickey Dolenz, a former member of the Monkees. Not only was she selected, she was brought to London to star in The Pajama Game. A 14-year-old girl, far from home, living in a professional environment for the first time, yet she never flinched. For Catherine, performing wasn't just a hobby. It was what she did best, and the way she slowly carved her path out of her modest beginnings. Early career. At 15, Catherine Zeta-Jones made a decision few of her peers dared to consider. She left school to pursue acting full-time. Many saw it as a reckless move, but for Catherine, acting wasn't a choice. It was the only path that made sense. Her early break in film came with a leading role in 1001 Nights, 1990. A movie based on the legendary 1001 Nights. She played Scheherazade, the central figure, a storyteller whose tales save lives. But the film fell far short of expectations. In France, it sold just over 250,000 tickets, ranking 78th in box office that year. Critics were equally unimpressed. It was a failure both commercially and critically. And when the lights dimmed, Catherine realized that cinema was far more brutal than she had imagined. After such a stumble, many might have backed away. Catherine didn't. She chose to return to England, a place where she believed she could rebuild her footing, and this time she did. From 1991 to 1993, Catherine starred in the TV series The Darling Buds of May. The show became a sensation in the UK, attracting millions of viewers each week. Thanks to this role, Catherine not only earned acclaim for her acting, but also became one of the nation's most beloved faces. Newspapers hailed her as a national beauty treasure, praising her for her classic, graceful, and elegant charm. But even with fame at home, Catherine wasn't content. She wanted more. She wanted to conquer Hollywood. Driven by that ambition, she moved to the United States, but the road was anything but smooth. As a British TV actress, she was largely ignored by Hollywood. The roles she managed to land in films like Splitting Heirs, 1993, Christopher Columbus, The Discovery, 1992, and The Phantom, 1996, were forgettable. No one truly noticed her, and the offers dwindled. Within the industry, whispers grew that Catherine lacked the magnetism to be an A-lister. It seemed the Hollywood dream was slipping away. Then, unexpectedly, an opportunity appeared, and this time, she didn't let it pass. In 1993, Catherine appeared in an episode of the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, produced by Steven Spielberg. From there, a chance encounter would change the course of her entire career. Some say Spielberg noticed her after watching the miniseries Titanic, 1996. Others claim he was struck by her performance in Young Indiana Jones. Whatever the truth, what matters is this. Spielberg saw something rare in Catherine, not just beauty, but cinematic presence, a quality few young actors possessed at the time. He didn't just discover her. He introduced her to director Martin Campbell, setting the stage for her role in Zorro. He believed she deserved a bigger break. And Catherine, after years of waiting and perseverance, was finally standing at the true threshold of Hollywood. Career success. The most pivotal moment in Catherine Zeta-Jones's career came in 1998, when she was cast as Elena Montero in the action-adventure film The Mask of Zorro. This wasn't just a major role. It was also her first time sharing the screen with two of Hollywood's biggest stars, Antonio Banderas and Anthony Hopkins. Catherine didn't fade into the background. On the contrary, she quickly became the center of attention. Her classic beauty, poised confidence, and natural charm captivated audiences from her very first scenes. But what truly made her performance stand out wasn't her appearance. It was the way she portrayed Elena, a woman of intelligence, strength, and emotional depth. Every glance, gesture, and line was delivered with care, creating a character both seductive and spirited, far from the stereotypical female leads in most action films of that era. To land the role, Catherine had to surpass several prominent contenders, including Penelope Cruz, Isabella Scorupco, and even Shakira. But luck wasn't what carried her through. Once cast, she threw herself into months of rigorous training. She learned horseback riding with a professional trainer, as many scenes required her to control a horse during fast-paced chases. She also studied fencing, preparing to perform her sword-fighting scenes with Antonio Banderas without the use of stunt doubles. Director Martin Campbell once shared that Catherine would arrive on set early to train privately with the stunt coordinator, demonstrating a level of commitment he described as no different from a true action star. Beyond that, she hired a private tutor to study Spanish, aiming to understand the cadence and spirit of her character, even though most of her lines remained in English. For the dance scenes, especially the flamenco, Catherine also refused to rely on cinematic tricks. Every step, every spin was something she practiced meticulously to bring Elena's sensuality and authenticity to life. This level of preparation resulted in a performance that felt complete and alive. The Mask of Zorro premiered to instant success, grossing over $250 million worldwide on a budget of around $95 million. Critics praised the film as well. The Los Angeles Times called it one of the finest action-adventure films of the 90s. As for Catherine, she was hailed as one of Hollywood's biggest new discoveries. Several magazines labeled her one of the most magnetic screen presences in the industry. From that point forward, Catherine Zeta-Jones officially entered the ranks of true movie stars, sought after by top directors, backed by major studios, and finally spoken of with genuine respect in Hollywood. Following the resounding success of The Mask of Zorro, Catherine Zeta-Jones didn't slow down. Instead, she continued choosing major projects to prove that she wasn't just a beautiful face, she had real talent. In 1999, she starred in Entrapment, alongside none other than Sean Connery, one of the greatest legends in cinema. This marked another significant milestone in Catherine's career. In the film, she played a sophisticated art thief, and its most iconic moment was the laser-dodging sequence, where she moved with inch-perfect precision through a maze of red beams. The scene, with its agility, grace, and irresistible allure, kept audiences riveted. Entrapment was a major box office success, grossing over $212 million worldwide. And that laser scene became an image synonymous with Catherine for years afterward. It also placed her on Hollywood's list of new sex symbols, but she redefined the term. Sensual, yes, but also empowered, layered, and in control. Never one to confine herself to action films, Catherine ventured into drama and quickly made another breakthrough with Traffic, 2000, directed by Steven Soderbergh. She played the wife of a drug lord, a morally complex character torn between power, survival, and family. It was a challenging role, but Catherine handled it with depth and conviction. Her performance earned her a Screen Actors Guild Award and a Golden Globe nomination. It was the first time critics and audiences alike recognized that Catherine was not just a glamorous star, but a serious actress. But her true peak came in 2002, when she starred in the musical film Chicago. Catherine took on the role of Velma Kelly, a sharp, seductive, cold-blooded, and fiercely ambitious performer. She didn't just act, she sang and danced throughout the entire film. The role demanded more from her than any before, and she delivered a tour-de-force performance. Chicago grossed over $306 million globally, won the Oscar for Best Picture, and earned Catherine the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress, a well-deserved reward for years of relentless dedication. Chicago also helped launch the modern Hollywood musical revival, and Catherine was a central part of that movement. Her moment accepting the Oscar has since become part of Academy Awards history. Catherine was pregnant with her daughter Caris just 10 days from giving birth. In a form-fitting black gown, visibly glowing, she raised the golden statue with a beaming smile. The press hailed it as one of the most iconic images in Oscar history, a radiant star, powerful and fully owning the moment. And she didn't stop there. That same night, Catherine performed All That Jazz live with Queen Latifah. But behind the scenes was an unexpected challenge. She was lifted onto stage by a hydraulic platform to begin the number, and only once she was up there did she realize the risk. A large baby bump, no handrails, and the platform slowly rising into the spotlight during a live broadcast watched by millions. Later, she joked, "Just standing there without falling was as stressful as giving out the wrong Oscar." Yet, as she had always done, Catherine remained composed. She delivered a captivating, high-energy performance, proving once again that even under the most unique circumstances, she was a consummate artist in full command the moment the lights came on. Personal life and tragedy. Catherine Zeta-Jones has always intrigued the public, not only because of her talent and beauty, but also due to a love life that seemed quiet on the surface, yet was filled with enigmas and unpredictable turns. Before she met Michael Douglas, she had loved, had been engaged, and had also chosen to walk away when the time was right. The first relationship to draw media attention was with John Leslie, a well-known British television presenter. At first, they appeared to be a glamorous couple, lighting up red carpets and public appearances. But behind the polished exterior was a relationship riddled with tension. According to people close to them, Leslie had controlling tendencies and an excessive jealousy. His sudden outbursts and increasing possessiveness began to stifle Catherine. She slowly created distance and eventually left the relationship quietly. She never spoke about it publicly. But years later, John Leslie became embroiled in a series of scandals and serious allegations that nearly destroyed his career. Many said Catherine had walked away just in time, while she still could. After Leslie, Catherine found what seemed to be a gentler love with Scottish actor Angus MacFadyen, best known for his role in Braveheart. Their relationship grew serious enough to lead to an engagement in the mid-1990s. Many believed it would be a fairy tale wedding, but then, without warning, it all faded away. No official reason was given. No one blamed anyone. Angus then all but disappeared from the media. In a rare interview, he quietly admitted, "I lost the most important thing I could have ever had." The statement, brief without bitterness, left a lingering echo for those who had followed their story. As for Catherine, she didn't rush into a new relationship afterward. For a long stretch, she seemed to vanish from the public side of romance. No new boyfriends, just silence and relentless work. Years later, when asked about that time, she simply said, "I needed quiet to remember who I was before someone else came in and defined it for me." And then, just when everything seemed to have gone still, a man 25 years her senior, burdened with a chaotic past, backed by a towering career, and with a gaze so direct it was almost unnerving, walked into her life. In 1998, at the Deauville Film Festival in France, Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas were both present to promote different films, The Mask of Zorro and A Perfect Murder, respectively. They hadn't come to meet each other, but a dinner arranged by Antonio Banderas and Melanie Griffith would end up changing everything. The first time Michael saw Catherine was in the hotel lobby, but he walked right past her without recognizing her. Catherine was a little surprised and remarked to her brother, "I guess he doesn't want to meet me that badly because he just brushed past and didn't even realize it was me." That evening, during the private dinner, Douglas requested to sit next to Catherine. Their conversation was open and relaxed. But when Catherine stood to leave, Michael seized the moment and said bluntly, "I'm going to be the father of your children." Catherine froze. That wasn't the kind of line she was used to hearing. She responded, just as directly, "I've heard a lot about you, and I've seen a lot of you, and I think it's time I say goodnight." She walked away, leaving Michael Douglas with the unmistakable sting of rejection. Years later, on the Jonathan Ross Show, 2016, he admitted he had completely screwed up on his first attempt. But Douglas wasn't about to give up. The very next day, after learning Catherine was heading to Scotland to film Entrapment, he sent her a bouquet of flowers with a handwritten note. "I'm sorry if I was too forward, but I didn't want to miss the chance to see you again." Catherine smiled when she read it. She didn't respond right away, but the gesture made an impression. From then on, they stayed in touch. Douglas didn't push. He simply called to check in, to share little things about his life, and to listen. Their conversations became frequent, not just about work, but about family, personal experiences, and how they saw the world. 9 months later, Catherine realized they had spoken nearly every day. Their relationship had grown naturally without noise or drama, and at some point she knew she was ready to open her life to him, for real. On New Year's Eve, 1999, while the world counted down to welcome a new millennium, Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas were curled up together in their private home in Aspen, Colorado, both battling a severe case of the flu. Despite the exhaustion and sniffles, Douglas decided to turn that unlikely night into a milestone moment. By candlelight, he pulled out a vintage 10-carat Fred Leighton diamond ring, surrounded by 28 smaller stones, estimated to be worth around $1 million. Looking straight into Catherine's eyes, he proposed. Her first reaction wasn't a yes, it was laughter. Douglas later recalled on The Ross King Show, ITV 2016. "We were both sick as dogs with the flu, and she said no," he joked, though admitting he was genuinely flustered in the moment. But Catherine didn't actually turn him down. After the initial surprise, she said yes. It was a major turning point for both of them, especially as they were preparing to welcome their first child. Just a month earlier, Douglas had confirmed the pregnancy rumors during an interview with People. "We were hoping to keep it quiet a little longer. But yes, Catherine is expecting. We couldn't be happier." In August 2000, Catherine gave birth to their first son, Dylan Douglas. He was her first child, and Michael's second. He had a son, Cameron Douglas, born in 1978 from his previous marriage to Deandra Luker. Though the proposal had none of the typical romantic trappings, surrounded by tissues, cough medicine, and hoarse voices, it became one of their most cherished memories. Once their relationship became public, the 25-year age gap between Catherine and Michael quickly sparked controversy. Many questioned the disparity, but Catherine never saw it as an issue. She candidly pointed out that both of their parents were the same age, and what truly mattered in a relationship wasn't numbers, but shared values and genuine care. Their fairy tale romance eventually led to one of the most unforgettable weddings in Hollywood history. On November 18, 2000, the iconic Plaza Hotel in New York, one of the most luxurious venues in the world, became the stage for a defining moment in the lives of Catherine Zeta-Jones and Michael Douglas. The wedding reportedly cost $1.5 million, an astronomical figure at the time. The guest list was a who's who of Hollywood royalty: Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg, Sean Connery, Brad Pitt, Jack Nicholson. This wasn't just a wedding. It was one of the most anticipated entertainment events of the year. Catherine appeared radiant in a $250,000 custom-designed Christian Lacroix gown adorned with exquisite crystal embellishments. Michael Douglas, the man who had spent nearly 2 years winning her heart, waited in the grand hall, his eyes visibly filled with emotion and pride. Tom Hanks gave the toast on behalf of their friends, lightheartedly making the crowd burst into laughter. In a tender backstage moment, Steven Spielberg was reportedly seen gently lifting the train of Catherine's dress to help her walk, as she was still recovering from a lingering flu. That simple gesture softened the grandeur of the event, bringing an unexpected warmth to the formal occasion. However, what truly made the wedding the talk of the industry wasn't just its extravagance, but a unique prenuptial agreement the couple signed. After a 23-year marriage and a high-profile divorce from Deandra Luker, which cost Michael Douglas nearly $45 million, he was determined to be better prepared legally. But Catherine was far from passive. She herself proposed an unprecedented clause. If Michael were to be unfaithful, she would be compensated $1 to $3 million for each year of marriage. Beforehand, she had thoroughly consulted a close friend who specialized in family law to ensure the terms were enforceable and crystal clear. Some critics called her too pragmatic, but the reality was that Catherine understood the risks of show business and wanted to protect herself in a legal and transparent way. Remarkably, Michael Douglas agreed without hesitation. For him, it wasn't a sign of distrust. It was a way to affirm his commitment to the woman he loved. As for the engagement ring, Catherine received a vintage 10-carat diamond from Fred Leighton's collection, surrounded by 28 smaller stones. What made it truly special was its provenance. The ring once belonged to a French actress from the 1920s and was inscribed on the inside with their wedding date, November 18, 2000, as a private keepsake of their love. To control media frenzy, the couple sold exclusive photo rights to OK magazine for $1 million. However, hello! Magazine secretly captured 6 unauthorized images during the ceremony, including a shot of Catherine tightly embracing Michael just after stepping out of their wedding car. Furious, the couple filed a lawsuit for invasion of privacy and copyright infringement. Initially, the court ruled in favor of Catherine and Michael. But in a 2005 appeal, the decision was overturned on the grounds that Hello's actions didn't cause measurable financial harm. The legal battle dragged on for years, costing them time and energy, but also fueling public fascination with their relationship. Despite the drama and controversy, after the wedding, Catherine and Michael quietly returned to a more private and grounded family life, far more discreet than what the glossy magazine covers had once portrayed. Right after their lavish wedding, instead of jetting off on a luxury honeymoon, Catherine and Michael chose to stay in their private apartment, devoting all their time to one another and their 4-month-old son. In a December 2000 interview with Reuters, Douglas shared, "It doesn't get any better than this. The year 2000 is definitely one to remember." Catherine agreed and echoed his words. "I just want to emphasize what my husband said. It truly doesn't get any better." 3 years later, in 2003, they welcomed their daughter, Karis Zeta Douglas, completing their little family. But even before that, the couple had moved full-time to Bermuda. It was a place Michael had deep ties to, with nearly 70 relatives living on the island, according to his interview with Architectural Digest in 2002. "It's just so comforting to come back to this tiny island where all your family lives nearby," he said. The location also offered convenience. It was only a 90-minute flight to New York, allowing them to stay professionally connected while enjoying a sense of privacy. But Bermuda wasn't just a retreat. It was a conscious decision to give their children the most normal childhood possible. Catherine and Michael were adamant that Dylan and Karis not grow up under the harsh spotlight of showbiz or media scrutiny. Catherine once said their priority was to let their children play with their cousins, live like any other kids, and have a place to call home. Not red carpets or film sets. The choice clearly paid off. In an interview with Town and Country, Karis recalled not even realizing her parents were famous. "I thought my dad made pancakes. I didn't know he was an actor. Honestly, that's what I believed." However, in 2009, the family returned to the U.S. and moved to Bedford, New York. Despite their love for Bermuda's tranquility, living back on the mainland brought them closer to the spotlight again. For Karis, it was a jarring shift. She later recalled the stress of life in Manhattan. "I hated it. They, paparazzi, would jump on the subway and sit right across from me. I was only 6. I was so confused." The once peaceful rhythm of family life began to change. And then, a far more serious shock hit, one that would test every bond within this family. Shortly after giving birth to her daughter, Karis Zeta Douglas, in 2003, Catherine began to show signs of psychological instability. She experienced sudden shifts in mood, from extreme euphoria to prolonged depression. Though she was eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder, Catherine chose not to disclose it to the public. She continued to appear radiant on red carpets, kept taking on roles, and tried to uphold the image of the perfect wife and mother. But behind the scenes, she frequently battled insomnia, overwhelming anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. Michael Douglas was the first to notice the change. He did his best to shield his wife from media pressure and rearranged his work schedule so the family could spend more time in Bermuda, a place they hoped would bring balance and peace. But even in this secluded environment, Catherine continued to struggle. According to close friends, there were moments when she would cry alone for hours, simply because she felt inexplicably empty. Things worsened in 2009 when Michael's son from a previous marriage, Cameron Douglas, was arrested for heroin possession and distributing methamphetamine. Despite multiple rehab attempts in the past, this time Cameron was sentenced to a long prison term, including 2 years in solitary confinement for smuggling drugs into the facility. The The case dominated headlines and brought heavy criticism upon Michael. In a painful interview, Michael admitted, "I failed with Cameron. He could have died out there, or someone could have killed him. But now in prison, at least he has a chance to start over." Though Catherine was not Cameron's biological mother, she couldn't emotionally distance herself from the psychological toll this event took. She tried to be a pillar of strength for her husband, while also maintaining stability for her 2 young children. In this pressure cooker of personal and public turmoil, her bipolar disorder became harder to manage, though no one outside the family knew it yet. According to a close friend, Catherine once tried to take on a television project during this period, but abruptly pulled out. Not because of script issues, but because she couldn't concentrate for more than an hour at a time. She also suffered frequent panic attacks in crowded places, and only felt safe when she was in an enclosed space with her children. It was a time Catherine lived in what she later called forced silence, trying to appear strong while slowly breaking down from the inside, unable to share her pain with anyone, not even her fans. And this was only the beginning. The real storms had yet to arrive. In 2010, Michael Douglas was diagnosed with stage 4 throat cancer, a devastating blow for a man who had once stood at the pinnacle of Hollywood. For Catherine, it was the greatest shock of her life. She put her entire career on hold, walked away from film sets, and canceled every project to devote herself completely to caring for her husband. Those months were a waking nightmare, as she watched the strong, vibrant man she loved slowly waste away under the brutal force of chemotherapy and radiation. Anyone who saw Michael Douglas during that time was stunned. He lost a shocking amount of weight. His voice was nearly gone, and his appearance had withered to the point of being unrecognizable. Yet through the pain, Michael remained resilient, fighting with determination and maintaining a brave, optimistic front for his family. Catherine, though outwardly composed in public, was being consumed daily by fear. She had never imagined she might lose Michael, the man with whom she had built a life, a family, a future. That deep anxiety triggered the return of her depression. For over a year, Catherine lived under extreme pressure. She pushed herself to the edge, trying to fulfill the role of devoted wife and mother, but emotionally, she was unraveling. In 2011, when Michael beat the odds and declared he had conquered cancer, many believed the Douglas family could finally breathe again. But the truth was far more complicated. Catherine's condition had worsened to the point that hospitalization became necessary. Close sources revealed that she collapsed emotionally once Michael recovered, as if her inner reserves had finally run dry after years of carrying the weight of fear and responsibility. Even while undergoing psychiatric treatment, Catherine was suddenly thrust into another crisis, this time sparked by a shocking public statement from her husband. In an interview about his illness, Michael Douglas stunned the world by claiming that his throat cancer had been caused by HPV, a virus transmitted through oral sex. The comment set off a media firestorm, igniting speculation not only about Michael's health, but also about his past sexual behavior. And though Catherine had no connection to the origins of the illness, she instantly became a target of vicious rumors and speculation. Catherine was deeply hurt, not just by Michael's choice to share something so intimate publicly, but by being dragged into a scandal she never asked for. For a long time afterward, she withdrew from public view, offering no comments or explanations. But those close to the couple knew. Cracks had begun to form in what once looked like an unshakable bond. In April 2013, Catherine once again quietly checked into a facility for treatment of her bipolar II disorder. When asked, Michael offered a calm response to people. "She's doing a great job balancing things. I'm proud of her." No one expected that just 4 months later, E! News would confirm what seemed unthinkable. The couple once hailed as a symbol of enduring love had quietly separated. While promoting Behind the Candelabra, Michael repeatedly reassured the press that they were working things out. Catherine, however, remained completely silent. The contrast in their responses only fueled speculation, rumors that Michael had been unfaithful, that Catherine had spiraled into depression and heavy drinking after years of illness and family crises. Sources close to them suggested that Catherine often lashed out emotionally, making the relationship increasingly suffocating. At one point, Michael subtly hinted that his wife was struggling with alcohol, further intensifying public suspicion. Amidst the noise, Catherine took their 2 children and stepped away from the spotlight, retreating to a private estate in New York. Michael continued his work, but the strain showed on his face with every public appearance. No one knew the full story. But one thing was clear: their marriage was on the brink. And yet, the most unexpected thing happened. Just 8 months later, they reconciled. There was no divorce filing, no property disputes, no public spats like those that often unfold in Hollywood. They simply reappeared, together, as though the separation had never happened. This time, they made it clear: their love had survived the storm. Michael declared, "We're back, stronger than ever." In 2017, the family celebrated a rare moment of joy. Cameron Douglas, Michael's son from his previous marriage, was released after serving a 7-year prison sentence. In his memoir, Cameron credited Catherine with helping to save his life. "She never gave up on me. Even though she wasn't my biological mother, she always treated me like her own," he wrote. Not long after, Cameron became a father, and Catherine and Michael stepped into a new role: grandparents. But peace didn't last long. In 2018, Michael Douglas was accused of sexual harassment by former colleague Susan Braudy, who claimed he had masturbated in front of her in the 1980s. The allegation sent shockwaves through the industry, especially as the Me Too movement swept Hollywood. Catherine was stunned. She didn't know what to believe, but ultimately, she chose to stand by her husband. Michael vehemently denied all claims, calling them a complete fabrication. Although the case never moved forward legally, the scandal left a crack in his public image. Still, Catherine didn't walk away. She stood firm, once again. By 2020, another significant shift took place. Their youngest child, Karis, graduated from high school and prepared to leave for college. After more than 2 decades of building a family, Michael and Catherine officially entered the empty nest phase. Just the 2 of them left in a house once filled with laughter and children's voices. "It's terrifying," Michael admitted. "Now it's just the 2 of us." That simple sentence turned out to be the clearest testament to the journey they had endured together. From Oscar night glory to the cancer ward, from quiet separation to public scandal, they stayed not out of marital obligation, but because they had seen each other at their worst, and still chose not to walk away. Catherine has never denied that maintaining a long-lasting marriage, especially under Hollywood's harsh spotlight, requires more than just love. It takes patience, forgiveness, and moments of solitude. After years of media dissection, she chose to live more privately, and that decision helped her find balance again. During the pandemic, Catherine began sharing more intimate glimpses of her daily life on social media, tending to her garden at their Irvington, New York estate, photos of Michael reading in the backyard, or clips of herself soaking in a bathtub with soft jazz playing in the background. No longer the glamorous star of Chicago or Zorro, Catherine emerged as a woman learning to enjoy the little things, and audiences connected with her more than ever. She admitted that after all the fame and all the scandals, the only thing she truly wants to protect is her family. Though she still occasionally appears in select film and fashion projects, such as her return in Prodigal Son or serving as the face of Casa Zeta-Jones, her self-designed jewelry line, Catherine no longer chases the whirlwind of celebrity culture. Instead, she's poured her energy into building her own brand, investing in home furnishings, organic beauty, and family fashion. She personally oversees every detail of each collection, determined to show that the Catherine Zeta-Jones image isn't just that of an actress, but a symbol of a mature, independent, and self-possessed woman. As for Michael, now in his 80s, he's embraced a slower pace. He's no longer acting non-stop, though he still serves as an advisor on select projects for close friends. Together, they enjoy quiet getaways. No paparazzi, no red carpets, just two people who have weathered storms, now learning how to slow down and love peace. There are moments when I wonder, if tomorrow never comes, have I lived deeply enough? Catherine shared in an interview with Harper's Bazaar. The answer is yes, because I've loved with all I had, truly hurt, and am still learning how to forgive every single day. Their story didn't end with a fairy tale wedding, nor did it collapse under tabloid headlines. It was a chain of trials, illness, depression, separation, forgiveness, and rebirth. And even though they no longer dominate the headlines, they quietly leave behind a message. In the glittering world of Hollywood, there are still love stories real enough to survive, if we dare to face the darkness together. Legacy and influence. You see, in an industry notoriously harsh on actresses, especially as they move beyond their peak, Catherine Zeta-Jones stands as one of the rare few who not only sustained a long-lasting career, but also expanded her influence into multiple fields. She didn't disappear with age, nor did she attempt a dramatic comeback by gambling on strange roles for the sake of reclaiming the spotlight. Instead, Catherine quietly built a stable position where acting talent, aesthetic identity, and business savvy coexist in balance. Her performance in Chicago is still considered the pinnacle of her craft, earning her an Oscar and placing her among the rare group of truly versatile stars, those who can act, sing, and dance within a single work. From there, she maintained a consistent presence in major films like Traffic, Ocean's 12, and The Terminal, without ever being typecast into a specific kind of role. That alone sets her apart from many contemporaries, women who were often confined to one archetype after breaking into stardom. In 2010, she was honored by Queen Elizabeth II with a CBE Commander of the Order of the British Empire for her contributions to the arts, a national recognition far beyond the realm of traditional film awards. Long before that, in the late 1990s, Catherine had already been one of the most globally recognized faces, named Most Beautiful Woman in the World by People, and the most searched actress on Yahoo in 1998, a testament to her mass appeal at the dawn of the internet age. Alongside her film work, Catherine has also made a significant mark in fashion and personal branding. She remains one of the few stars consistently listed among the best dressed at major awards shows, thanks to her classic yet modern style, a look that recalls Hollywood's golden age while staying attuned to contemporary tastes. Building on that image, she launched Casa Zeta-Jones, offering footwear, cosmetics, and home decor, not as a vanity project, but as a serious endeavor grounded in her own aesthetic philosophy. To many young actresses today, Catherine Zeta-Jones represents the ideal model of a stable, strategic career, one that never compromised personal values. They look to how she's maintained a composed, disciplined, scandal-free image as a blueprint for longevity in a notoriously cutthroat industry. Her greatest achievement may not be any single award, but rather the fact that she's built a lasting, multifaceted career while keeping full control of her narrative. That's something few female stars in Hollywood can claim, especially beyond their 20s. And for that reason, Catherine Zeta-Jones is remembered not just as a movie star, but as a singular example of endurance, strategy, and the art of continual reinvention. Current life. Now in her 50s, Catherine Zeta-Jones continues to exude enduring appeal and remains highly active in the entertainment industry. After years of prioritizing family and expanding her business ventures, she made a notable return to the screen as Morticia Addams in Wednesday, Netflix, 2022, a global phenomenon. The role not only earned her praise from audiences, but also allowed Catherine to connect with a younger, more international generation of viewers. In 2023, she followed up with a key role in Disney's national treasure, Edge of History, further solidifying her image as a star still in demand by major studios. While many of her contemporaries have stepped back or slowed down, Catherine has maintained a steady pace, both in acting and across her ventures in business, endorsements, and fashion. Her presence on the red carpet remains a consistent highlight in best-dressed lists. She continues to embrace a classic style inspired by 1950s Hollywood, elegantly updated to suit modern tastes. The old Hollywood glamour aesthetic, with tailored gowns and refined palettes, has become a signature look that reinforces her status as a fashion icon across decades. Alongside her artistic pursuits, Catherine has built and grown her own brand, Zeta-Jones, featuring high-end products in fashion, cosmetics, footwear, and home decor. It's one of the few celebrity-founded brands that isn't viewed as a vanity project, but rather a serious, thoughtfully curated label. Additionally, she has signed major endorsement deals with global brands such as Visa, Elizabeth Arden, Alfa Romeo, and T-Mobile, earning an estimated $20 million from advertising alone. Today, Catherine and Michael Douglas reside in a $33 million villa in Spain. With their children now grown, the couple enjoys a quieter life together, filled with more privacy, frequent travel, and selectively shared moments on social media. Catherine's net worth is currently estimated at around $150 million, a result of decades of artistic achievement, savvy investments, and a carefully sustained public image. Catherine Zeta-Jones hasn't just survived the ups and downs of fame and personal hardship. She's proven that an actress can take control of her career, preserve her image, and continue to leave a mark even as times change. Her story isn't just one of stardom, it's one of resilience, of choosing to return at the right time, in the right way, without ever compromising the one thing that matters most, integrity in her craft. And you? What is the moment that stands out to you most about Catherine Zeta-Jones? A role, a quote, or an image that made her unforgettable in your eyes? Share it in the comments below, because maybe your memory is the most beautiful part of this story. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell to keep exploring the emotional journeys of the Hollywood icons you love.